What's up, YouTube? Just wanted to do a recap for the WWE NXT January 13th, 2026 episode. First segment is NXT General Manager Ava Raine. She's out there talking to tons of the male wrestlers from the NXT roster and also the Evolve roster as well. And she tells them that on February 3rd, 2026, there's going to be a six-man ladder match to determine the next NXT champion, since Obafemi vacated his title, as he'll be going to the main roster soon. Haven't had any word yet on whether he's officially going to the SmackDown roster or the Raw roster, but behind-the-scenes reports say he's going to the Raw roster. So, anyway, starting next week, there's going to be qualifying matches to determine who the six people in this ladder match are to determine the next NXT champion. And there's this big melee that breaks out amongst all the NXT and Evolve wrestlers. And the one that seems to really stand out the most, who seems to really stand out on top, is WWE Evolve wrestler Keanu Carver. So if you've been watching Evolve, or if you've seen him on NXT Level Up back before that show was canceled in December of 2024, he's pretty damn good, so it's no surprise they show him as a real standout on this, in this big melee that's breaking out. Up next, we have the first match of the show, and that is Kalani Jordan. She's going up there against Lola Vice. And in this match, Kalani Jordan, she tries to do a blindsided attack on Lola Vice, but still, Lola Vice gets a solid, decisive win with her back fist knockout move. So there you go. And second match there is going to be a WWE Speed Championship match. And these have 5-minute time limits. Excuse me. And in this match here, we have Jasper Troy. He's the current WWE Speed Champion. He's going up against Tavion Heights. Jasper Troy wins a solid, decisive victory in, I'd say, about maybe 4 minutes and 20 seconds. And he wins it with a black hole slam, very similar to what the Big Boss Man did back in the 80s and 90s. In our next segment, we have several teams out here. We have Kendall Gray, the current WWE Evolve Women's Champion. She's out there with Ren Sinclair. They run into Zarya and Sol Ruka, and they're talking about how they all want a title match to go up against JC Jane, the current NXT Women's Champion. And they go into General Manager Ava Raine's office, where they find out JC Jane is in the office already, and she's in there with her cohorts, Laney Rain, and the current WWE Women's Speed Champion, Fallon Henley. Now, GM Ava Raine tells all of them in there, she's like, okay, now listen up here. Next week, there's going to be a triple threat match involving you guys in here right now, and the winner of this triple threat tag team match is going to get a titles match against the current TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Champions, and that consisting of Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance. So there you have it right there. So that's going to happen next week. Then we have our next segment where Andre Trace, he's out there with his cohorts, Uriah Connors and Cale Dixon. They're out there and they run into Lexis King, and Andre Chase says, now this is a teachable moment. Lexis King, he's a good example of what not to be like. And we have the current TNA International Champion, Channing Stacks Lorenzo, out there with his girlfriend, Ariana Grace, and they act like they're irritated that Andre Chase would say that. And next thing you know, Miles Bourne comes running out, and he comes running up to Robert Stone, and he's like, you got to get me a match in this, got to get me so I could get it a qualifying match so I could get into this six-man ladder match so I can become, one of the contenders for the NXT championship. And Robert Stone's like, look, I'm really busy right now, okay, and, Miles Bourne, he's so insistent on it, and he's like, and then Robert Stone, just to get rid of him, Robert Stone tells him, he's like, okay, I'll do what I can do. I'll say something to General Manager Ava, all right? So that's how all that played out. Then up next, we have a promo for a new NXT wrestler. We have the French luchador is a masked wrestler named Ilio LaFleur. He's basically introducing himself, telling us more about himself. He had a promo last week, and now he's like expanding on that. He's telling us some more about himself. And the segment right after that, we have General Manager Ava. She's in there talking with Ethan Page, current NXT North American champion, not to mention the AAA, one of the AAA mixed tag team champions. And she's like, all right, Ethan Page, next week, okay, Ilio LaFleur, he's going to be making his debut on WWE television, and he's going to be having a title match for the NXT North American Championship against you in it. So, and of course, Ethan Page, he's irritated about that. He's like, well, why is this guy getting a championship match? He's never been on WWE television before, and he's already getting a title match, And GM Ava's like, well, too bad. That's the way it's going to be. See you next week in your title match against Ilio LaFleur. So there you have it. Up next, we have another next segment. Blake Monroe, she comes out to, she wants to do a promo in front of the crowd, and Jada Parker comes out. And Jada Parker, she hasn't been on NXT too much, really, the last several months. She's really only been doing NXT house shows. So this is kind of like, Jada Parker's big return to NXT television. She comes out and, she beats the hell out of Blake Monroe, leaves Blake Monroe lying on the floor outside the ring. So up next, we have our segment. We have Shiloh Hill. This is a pre-recorded promo. Shiloh Hill, he's talking about how recently, he had a confrontation with Ariana Grace, and his false teeth went flying out right on top of Ariana Grace, who was completely disgusted by all that. And we've seen that on television some time ago, where Shiloh Hill, he had a match, and like some of his teeth were knocked out, and had false teeth in there to compensate for those teeth that were missing. And sometimes you see that where his false teeth just end up flying out of his mouth, And that's what that was about. Up next, we have there was a promo done by Dark State, that group consisting of Osiris Griffin, Deion Lennox, who are the current NXT Tag Team Champions, along with their cohorts, Segwan Sugars and Cutler James, and they're talking about their no DQ match later on, and when Deion Lennox is going to face Joe Hendry. Up next, we have our second match of the show. That's a TNA International Championship match. We have Shiloh Hill versus the current TNA International Champion, Channing Stacks Lorenzo, with his girlfriend Ariana Grace. Now, in this match, Ariana Grace gets involved at two different points in the match and helps Channing Stacks Lorenzo get an underhanded, crummy victory. So that's what happened in that situation. Up next, we have a segment with Izzy Dame. She's out there. She's the current women's NXT North American champion. Tatum Paxley comes out, and she comes out to beat the hell out of Izzy Dame, and a bunch of referees come out to stop her. So Tatum Paxley starts beating the hell out of one of the referees, to the point where now the referees are throwing Tatum Paxley out of the building. And then in our next segment, we have Ricky Saints. He's being interviewed by not Sarah Schreiber, who you would think would be interviewing him, because she's usually the NXT interviewer. He's being interviewed by Kelly Kincaid, and I haven't seen Sarah Schreiber on NXT recently. I've seen her on local television commercials for contracting work, to get work done on your house. So I'm wondering if Sarah Schreiber's not really in WWE anymore, since I'm seeing her on television commercials and stuff. So anyway, Ricky Saints gets interviewed, and then Channing Stacks Lorenzo comes out, and he's complaining about that he doesn't have one of those 6 spots for the ladder match for the NXT Championship. And Ricky Saints is like, well, dude, what do you expect? Okay, you won your match earlier in the show, but it was only because your girlfriend helped you to win. So what the hell do you expect? Seriously. Hey, my sentiments exactly on that one. Ay. Up next, we find out some more about what's going on with the direction of how NXT is going. We have Blake Howard. He's coming out. He's doing some interviews. We've seen Blake Howard. He's on the weekly show WWE Main Event. He's one of the announcers out there with Vic Joseph, and he's also the ring announcer on WWE Evolve. Now, he's out there. He's doing some interviews. He's interviewing the Vanity Project. He's out there with Jackson Drake, the current WWE Evolve champion, and he's out there with Brad Baylor, and he's out there with Ricky Smokes, and all three of those guys are telling him, hey, we just wanted to let you know, all of us just got promoted. We were on the Evolve roster. We've now officially been promoted. We've gotten our NXT contracts. Now we're officially on the NXT roster. So there you have it with that. And up next, they find out, Keanu Carver. Now he's on the NXT roster as well. So Blake Howard, he tries to interview him, and see what his thoughts are. But Keanu Carver, he doesn't want to talk about it. He just shoves the camera out of the way and all that. So up next, we have an announcement about a couple more matches, what they're going to be for next week on WWE NXT. We find out that a couple of the qualifying matches to be in that six-man ladder match for the NXT Championship are going to be Josh Briggs versus Shiloh Hill. That should be an interesting match, I think. And we also have Super Sean Legacy from WWE Evolve. He'll face off against Eli Knight, also from WWE Evolve, in a qualifying match to be in that six-man ladder match. And up next, we have our main event of the night. We have match 4. That's a no disqualification match. We have Dion Lennox. He's one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions. He's out there with his 3 cohorts from Dark State, Osiris Griffin, Cutler James, and Saguan Sugars. He's out there against Joe Hendry, who is out there with his, he's brought out the tag team OTM out the mud, consisting of Bronco Nima and Lucian Price. Now, surprisingly, the way, WWE, they have so many commercials during the matches. It drives you nuts because it really ruins the momentum of the matches. They're always having commercial breaks during the matches. Like we've seen recently a couple weeks ago on WWE Raw, some of those Raw matches were having 2 or 3 commercial breaks during one single match. So it was surprising this week on WWE NXT where WWE didn't have any commercial breaks during the match until 1 minute and 49 seconds, or 1 hour and 49 minutes into the show. Surprisingly, so hopefully that's a sign that they're trying to change their format, because they're seeing a lot of people are complaining about this. They're like, why is it seems like you try to watch WWE Raw, even though you have the commercial-free version, you're paying $19.07 a month to get the commercial-free version of Netflix, and you're watching WWE Raw, you're trying to watch that live feed, and it seems like every 5 minutes there's a commercial break, especially during the matches, over and over and over and over and over. It's ridiculous, Okay, so they had that first commercial break during the match. All right, then we find out that during this match that, Dion Lennox's and Joe Hendry's cohorts, they both battled each other to the back. All right, so now we just have a one-on-one match. We got Dion Lennox versus Joe Hendry, but then all of a sudden we find out here's Tony D'Angelo. He's coming out. Now, he comes out and, he attacks Dion Lennox with a steel chair, See, I think, he's trying to help Joe Hendry to win, but then all of a sudden he turns on Joe Hendry as well. He also attacks Joe Hendry. So here you got Tony D'Angelo. He attacks Dion Lennox, then he attacks Joe Hendry. He takes Joe Hendry's limp body, throws Joe Hendry on top of Dion Lennox. The referee does the pinfall, counts to 3, and Joe Hendry is declared the winner of that match. And then at the final segment of the match, GM Ava, she comes out. She wants to confront Tony D'Angelo over what happened. So she comes out with a bunch of Evolve wrestlers. She comes out with the Evolve wrestlers, Harley Riggins, Jax Presley, Braxton Cole, and Chris Island. And they're playing the role of security guards on the show. And basically, Tony D'Angelo, he attacks all 4 of these WWE Evolve wrestlers, and then the show goes off the air, and that's how all that played out. And your announcers for the show were Vic Joseph and Booker T, and basically, that's how everything worked out on that episode. So, I don't think there's anything else I really wanted to say about that right now that I can think of right off the top of my head. But anyway, if you hadn't caught the show, that's what happened. I figure maybe that'll help save you some time, because it seems like trying to catch up on this nonsense, it seems like it's a part-time job, if you know what I'm saying, and I think you do.